I noticed somebody posted in one of the. I look at these Facebook groups for police scanners and crime blotters and all that stuff. I find interesting to see what's going on in my locale, as it were.
Obviously, why, how would you not?
Right. Well, I mean, hey, I see if my name comes up or anything.
That's what I'm saying. You really have to keep tabs on these things.
That might have been the original reason years ago that I started following these. It's like, I need to find like a full-time broadcast just to see, just to make sure they're not on to me. But no, so I'll look at these things, and somebody posted a response from the DuPage County Sheriff, and then for our international audience, that's the county we live in here in Illinois.
Yeah, right outside of Chicago, which is Cook County, and
so I saw this response from the sheriff in regards to this bill, HB 5.
Well, yeah, let's go over the bill first.
Yeah, HB 5471 here in Illinois is the name of it, and they call it the Protect Illinois Communities Act because that's how you do it.
That's how you sell something.
When you want something to be passed, you call it the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
Well, you're not a
what are you, against patriotism?
I mean, surely. If you're,
give me your guns.
If you're a patriot, you want to turn us into like Stalinistic hell, like obviously you're a patriot, aren't you? Or do you hate the troops? Whatever. Sorry. So what they do with bills? It's always got to be some like, hey, the fucking kittens shouldn't die in a volcano act.
Yeah. But then it's really.
Meanwhile, it's like fucking smart meters for your water. Like, oh no.
Yeah.
But no, so HB 5471, Protect Illinois Communities Act, is being called an assault weapons ban. Now, this gets a little weird.
Yes.
Because I think most people have not really made up their minds about or don't really know what an assault weapon is.
Well, nobody can explain it. Well, in the political world. They mostly can't.
There is sort of a definition in legislature of I don't know exactly where it comes from, but there is a definition that includes things like if there is a certain type of magazine, if there's another place to like hold the gun with your non-trigger finger, if there's stuff about thumb holes, there's stuff about what grenade launchers. It's like, who can get a fucking grenade anyways? But that's another thing. I think the average person that looks at this and goes, well, finally, it's about time.
Yeah.
I think they think that this
is somehow legal.
Well, I think they think that you can still get like machine guns. I don't know if the average person knows that. Like, I think when they see assault weapons, a lot of people think, oh, those are fucking like fully automatic, which has been
these are illegal
since like 86 or something. Yeah.
Well, here we go. Let's take a look at this article from Reason magazine.
Yeah. Hopefully this will clear some stuff up.
Yeah, Illinois just banned assault weapons because their only intent is mass murder. The law is hard to defend on logical, practical, or constitutional grounds.
So we're looking at a biased article, and that's fine.
Yes, and that's fine.
Because we agree with it.
Reason, free minds, and free markets. So I'm pretty sure this is a libertarian sort of, has a libertarian sort of bent. But it was honestly...
There's my buddy, Pritzker.
Yeah, that's usually... It's because they're not so Republican or not so Democrat, so they sometimes have like a fairly... neutral take on things.
Yeah, they're pro-gun but want open borders. They're, it's a whole other thing.
It's not entrenched in either side of the political aisle. So Illinois, there's Mr. Pritzker there. Yeah. This week, Illinois became the 9th state to ban assault weapons. What are those? Governor J.B. Pritzker's triumphant press release about the new law does not say, because the explanation would reveal the futility of trying to reduce gun violence through arbitrary restrictions that leave mass murderers and other criminals with plenty of equally lethal alternatives.
And we don't have to go over the entire thing because a lot of this we know, and anybody that's looked at this, I mean, it's like handguns for as far as just murder in general goes.
It's like 93%.
Even in mass shootings, I think are like 90% of the, use 90%.
Yeah, well, that's okay. So
it's always, they want to ban like the guns that are, I guess, scarier looking is the way it comes across.
Yeah, well, what it seems is like that they're the ones that could take on an armored opponent. That's really what it always seems like. Something that has a high velocity round. Now, if you're talking about, say, school shootings or public mass shootings or something like this, nobody's wearing armor, so you could shoot them with a .22 and long rifle and kill them. A single shot of bolt action.
You could just be throwing darts.
Yeah,
do a lot of damage.
But as far as these ones, it always seems to be, the ones that have high capacity and high velocity rounds. But here, this is
the ones that might be effective against some kind of organized
threat. Exactly. Some sort
of well organized and onward marching threat. Yeah.
So the new law begins to push back against weapons whose only intent is to eviscerate other human beings, says Illinois State President Don Harmon.
See, now, that's not like a legal... I hate when they do this.
Guns don't have an intent.
But also, like... You can't. That's not a legal wording.
You're ascribing intent to either a gun or a gun owner, but you can't ascribe intent to someone legally
to an inanimate object.
Well, also to even an owner of a firearm. But yeah, so what the wording really is ascribing intent to the gun itself. But if you're going to even say, well, no, it's clearly the owner of the gun who's buying it. We're saying his only intent is to eviscerate other human beings. Well, that's simply not true. Because I know many, many, many people with many, many, many of these guns, and they are not.
I mean, obviously,
intending to kill.
The vast majority are not used in a homicide ever. You know, I mean, so yeah, okay. And I think, like I said, I think if people were better informed about what is actually going on, you know, like I said, I think literally people think that they're banning fully automatic weapons.
Yeah, which have been illegal since the mid-'80s.
Since I was born, yeah. I mean,
and that I think came from the gang wars, you know, that started off in the sort of mid-'80s.
Well,
where people had like the midnight specials and the fucking.
I mean, you want to talk about real violence in this country? I think to this day, the most violent decade might have been the 30s.
Probably,
capita,
with the Tommy
the invention
guns
of the Thompson submachine gun, of course. I know you like to use abbreviations, but but I'm trying to inform people. You know, I mean, there's been a lot more violent periods. You know, of course. Is that our point?
Well, yeah, but so he says based on the references to mass shootings that surround Harmon's statement, we can infer that he means assault weapons are suitable only for killing innocent people. But that is also clearly not true, since Americans own some 20 million rifles that fall into that legislatively defined category, and only a tiny percentage of them are ever used in homicides. Handguns account for the large majority of firearms used in mass shootings, and they account for even larger share of weapons used in all gun homicides.
Yeah.
More than 90% in cases where the type of firearm was specified, according to the FBI's numbers. Rifles of any sort, only a subset of which would even qualify as assault weapons, were used in less than 3% of those cases. So when you start looking at this, again, first of all, I don't know...
How is the intent to really protect anyone?
Yeah, and exactly. Is it just... my first question is, legally, are you going to be able to uphold any of these things in a court? If you were like, oh, this is one of them, and then they're like, no, it isn't, is it going to be thrown out of court? Like, well, you have to prove it. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah. Well, and you're seeing an interesting response. Actually, maybe now would be a good time to show that.
Yeah.
And this is something I've seen in a bunch of counties around Illinois, but in our own county here, DuPage County, Illinois, we see the sheriff put out this release. Let's see, I can read it if you want.
Here, let me get us off the screen just so we can see it real quick.
Take a look at this. Now, this is his response to this
this is from our actual current sheriff, James Mendrick.
As your sheriff, I wanted to give the citizens of DuPage County an update on the recent passage of HB 5471. As your duly elected sheriff, my job and my office are sworn, in fact, to protect the citizens of DuPage County. This is a job and responsibility that I take with the utmost seriousness. Part of my duties that I accepted upon, blah, 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 is talking about the Constitution, we all know, and protect the Second Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms for defense of life, liberty, and property is regarded as an inalienable right by the people. I, among many others, believe the HB 5471 is a clear violation of the Second Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Therefore, as the custodian of the jail and chief law enforcement official for DuPage County, that neither myself nor my office will be checking to ensure that lawful gun owners register their weapons with the state, nor will we be arresting or housing law-abiding individuals that have been arrested solely with non-compliance of this act. Okay.
So
that was...
that's pretty...
I don't know if I've ever seen that before.
No, that is pretty fucking insane, I think.
I
saw it during COVID a little bit, where they were like, I'm not going to do any masks.
Yeah, right.
You know, we're not going to... I mean, here, locally, they were like, the local law enforcement and the mayor said, we're not going to enforce any sort of mask mandate. We're not going to enforce any sort of mask protocol here. Restaurants will be able to be allowed to be open. And that was probably a week or two into the whole fucking lockdown. So whereas a lot of places around here, you couldn't really, a lot of restaurants were just closed down. This town was completely open. Right. It was actually insane.
Yeah, there was a few like that, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty, I was pretty stoked about it.
But as far as firearms go, I don't know that I've ever seen one like this.
No. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's like on a different, smaller level. I guess nobody knew at the time.
It's like the fragmentation of political alliances now is getting so weird that I think law enforcement is so kind of firmly in one camp.
Yeah, they know who butters their bread.
Yeah,
they know who's not saying abolish us.
I guess that's what it's come down to. Yeah. But. Like I can't picture them having done this back in the original, like the actual automatic weapons ban in the 80s.
God,
or any other time. Like my whole life, it's been law enforcement lockstep with the federal government. Like, let's fucking get the guns off the street. Yeah. Let's fucking, you know what I mean? And now you're seeing, I don't know, man. What does this mean?
I don't know. But I kind of...
I'm starting to get that Civil War vibe, man, like we were a couple years ago.
Yeah.
I was thinking it was chilling out. But you start seeing open letters from law enforcement defying the federal government. And, I like it.
I was going to say, I like it. I like anyone openly defying the federal government on any sort of repealing of rights, constitutional rights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again... My big thing on this subject has always been you're not dictating what the wording of the Constitution meant. You don't just get to make that up. You guys, there can be debate about it. There can be, you know what I mean? The Supreme Court can be involved, and there can be votes on it. Preferably, there would be votes on it. But you don't just get to deem what they meant.
Sure, yeah.
And what a lot of people, obviously, it always comes down to, they meant guns for hunting. And then the other side is like, no, they didn't. They meant guns to defend you against a unruly tyrannical regime.
If nothing else, if you analyze that argument, it would seem that they meant that you were able to have any weaponry that the military had.
Yeah.
Which, nobody's even asking for that. You know?
Yeah, exactly. On its face, I've always thought that it was a little bit disingenuous, and I've always wondered where it fucking comes from. Because when you look at those statistics right there, it's very simple to see that 90+% of mass shootings and shootings in general are done by handguns. So the argument always is, well, we're not coming for handguns. Handguns are fine for self-defense.
Yeah, the small ones that you can shoot your school bully with.
Yeah, the small ones you can conceal very easily and walk around with.
Yeah, no, those are good. Yeah.
So yeah, it's never seemed like it was a public safety thing. It seems like it's either a political optics thing or a actual attempt to start disarming citizens, which neither of those am I in favor of. So, but for the sheriff to come out and publicly address this in this way, I'm interested to see how many others follow suit.
Yeah. But it's kind of funny because it's such a selective, it's like the sheriff is going to meanwhile, you've been arresting people for drugs for fucking 35 years and all these weird little victimless crimes they come up with and stuff.
But guns.
Well, we're going to draw the line
at assault weapons.
At the giant death machines. We need those. But you guys can't do anything else. That makes any sense, I mean, this guy, there's a million laws that are unconstitutional. It's kind of funny that so on their part, it's optics too, I guess, in a certain way.
Yeah.
Because I got to say, my first thought was should I start voting for fucking sheriff? Is this what I need to do? I need to vote for this fucking guy? And then I thought about who am I voting for?
The guy that's going to arrest me for everything else,
right? Yeah, exactly, right.
I guess. Yeah. But I think you were rightfully intrigued by this because that seems like sort of a precedent is being set here that was never here before. I mean, maybe it was. Maybe we're just ignorant to some other past issues that have been like this. Maybe this happened with things like slavery back in the day, where certain people were like, I'm sure it did. Actually, I'm sure that there were local municipalities that were like, we ain't letting them go. You know what I mean? Even when the federal government was like, nope, no more slavery. And then I'm sure there was a ton of fucking local municipalities that were like...
Yeah, I recall reading about how the whole, how the intricacies of how that all went. And I remember Illinois was one of the most brutal places that had somehow legally written in that, okay, if you've been a slave this long, then they can keep you for like another 10 years or whatever the fuck, dude. It was all very messy.
They have to have some time to get their affairs in order.
You can't just,
like, well, no.
They need to learn how to sweep and do the dishes and shit. And you can't just fucking.
They gotta remember how to take care of their kids.
Or else we're gonna have a whole other socioeconomic issue. You guys don't want to know.
Yeah,
we already invented the cotton gin. We have a big problem. It's like we're in trouble here. Anyways,
we thought that everyone thought that the printing press was a problem, man. This AI shit. Now I won't deviate from the subject, but it's still in my mind. But yeah, I don't know where this goes. I thought this was extremely interesting and very interested to see where that goes.
We had a lot of comments about it. Let's see what people are saying.
Let's see what everyone's saying.
Let's see. He's not the only sheriff to release a statement similar to that. I think I said that. He was, I saw like it's kind of a thing that was copy and pasted by a bunch of sheriffs around the state. Yeah. And I don't know what percentage of, but yeah, the idiots thinking AK is an automatic weapon. Look for the recent Geraldo Rivera video. We could maybe try to check that out later. I feel most of them know they're playing ignorant. Blah, blah, blah. That's cool as fuck. All right. People generally in support. I live in the sheriff's jurisdiction, Andrea says proudly.
Okay.
I like that.
So good, actually. Okay, so here's a dissenter, and I welcome this because this opens up dialogue. Michael says, what do you use them for? Target practice or to protect your property from who? The government or bad guys? All of those.
Whoever. What about a wolf or a bear? Or
what about a coyote?
Yeah.
A rabid coyote.
Or what if your neighbor's making too much noise?
But you can actually hunt with them. They're rifles. I mean, the funny thing about these guns is the same ones that look like just a hunting rifle, it's the same innards. Like they're the same gun.
Right.
There, you pull a fucking trigger, one bullet comes out. You pull the trigger, one bullet comes out.
Most people I know don't go fucking walking around with these things hoping for trouble. They literally take them in a case to a place where they love to fucking set up a target at 200 yards and see what they can do.
Really expensive ammo for no reason.
Let's not forget this. It's not all about shooting people. They're fucking great for just threatening people and making your point. You know what I mean? It's like
brandishing.
You can just get a lot done with just a nice brandish.
Yeah.
You don't really
There's a lot of power in the brandish.
This is a thing that makes
and it just doesn't look the same with a wooden stock.
No.
You got to have that high density plastic, like the black, where it looks like a Terminator tool. You know what I mean? From a fucking movie.
That's if you really want to feel like God and have someone cower before you. So they're great for that. They're great for hunting. They're whatever.
But yeah, they really are. But the question, or the thing that I always find funny is, like, if you have a 30-06 or 30-30, these are bigger, more powerful rounds. Now, they're not exactly as high velocity, but I mean, they're comparable. There's a lot of rifles out there that look like they are a hunting rifle that you go deer hunting with, or that you go anything hunting with. Well, these are the same thing. They just have a different stock. They have like additions that look cool that you could put on them. They have barrel shrouds and stuff like this, but it doesn't affect the actual mechanism of the gun primarily. I mean, there are some things that you can alter, but for the most part, it's you pull the trigger, one bullet comes out. You pull the trigger, one bullet comes out. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's not you pull the trigger and you're like like a military gun. That's not what we're talking about. So yes, that is exactly the idea, is to have that for defending yourself against somebody else with a gun.
And how about the fact that there's like fucking hundreds of millions of guns out there, and it's like, who the fuck is anyone to tell anyone else what they need to protect themselves, or what you know what I mean? Like, who do you deem qualified?
Yeah, the government
to tell. Yeah, those fucks. Have you ever seen what they do? Seen how they operate? Or what they're up to?
That's one of my problems.
You're gonna listen to them about how not to kill people? Are you fucking crazy?
Yeah, but I mean, I get it. Look, I do understand the sentiment though, because what we see on the news is they make the cases that are these rifles are involved with very high profile. What they don't make is the much larger percentage of school shootings that are done with pistols.
What's funny is there's also like a racial breakdown to that.
Yeah,
too,
a huge
where it's like
racial
I don't
breakdown.
see the country getting all up in arms a lot of times when there's shootings in black neighborhoods.
I know.
I think they kind of just
nobody looks at it.
They just go, oh yeah, well,
and that's where the bulk of school shootings are. But it's by students. They're shooting other students.
Yes.
So for some reason, that isn't as bad as someone else coming from out of the school and shooting students. It just doesn't make any sense. Like, well, yeah, but they had a scarier looking gun. It's like, yeah, but they're all dead though still.
Yeah.
So it just, I've never understood but like I say, I get where people's apprehension about these weapons come from. They have been
from the mainstream media.
It really is though. The media has made these things. I mean, if I could go and put a whole fucking reel together of like the specific words they use to describe it, and it's always the same ones. And yeah, it's a very obvious concerted effort. But yeah, I don't know what the difference is if you're going to do that. And then the question is then are you just going to try and take all of them? And then they're like, we would never do that. So it's like, okay,
yeah,
well, we'll see.
I mean, in general, they're just it just seems like it'll be a step-by-step process, and because we've seen how shit works like socially and politically here. Like you let one group start doing anything, and they just never fucking stop, dude.
Just right or left.
They'll just
I don't
take
care
it as far as they can.
This happens to be the left doing this, and the right defending it, but it's not always been this way. The right does stupid shit too. I mean, Trish says teachers should have stun guns at the very least. And that's another thing is then people go, well, should teachers have, they shouldn't have to be trained to,
I don't know.
Well,
they're protecting a fucking whole shitload of kids.
Yeah, like that's in other countries. It's all like go to Israel. Talk about Israel once. There's fucking armed guards all over the schools. Why? Because people fucking shoot people in schools.
Yeah.
So it's like, I know it would be a beautiful thing if we didn't have to. That'd be great. But if we do, yes. And it doesn't have to be mandatory. There could be teachers that are like, I'll do it. I'll do it. You have a few, whatever, and you have a couple. I mean, we've done it to the airlines where there's plainclothes passengers that are, you know what I mean? Just they're officers. Nobody knows. You don't know who they are, and they're there in case something pops off.
Sure.
So have that in school. Have a couple people in a fucking break room having a coffee, and if something pops off, they come out with a rifle and pop, 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 pop.
Yeah, I mean, there's undercover cops walking around every fucking festival, every fucking
there's a couple on this show right now.
I've seen just on a random day in the summertime back when I was young and I worked at a little fucking whatever store. It was a White Hen. It was a convenience store.
Ooh, best sandwiches ever.
This girl that's supposed to take over for me goes outside to smoke a blunt. And some dude just walking by in a polo shirt and jean shorts arrests her. I'm like, we already have these people everywhere but the schools.
Just get them in there.
Yeah.
Should you take this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, you are on with Tom and Vinny. What's up?
Hey, it is Alex, but I'm sitting here with Aaron Paul and Vinny's cousin Christina, and they wanted to call in and say hello to you guys, especially Vinny.
Hello.
Chime in. Here they are.
Okay, yeah. What you guys got?
Hey.
Hey.
Awesome, Vinny. Vinny, do you remember who I am?
No.
Do you want me to speak in Penguin?
No. All right. This is not how this works. We're kind of doing something right now. So what do you guys got for us?
Got anything about the sheriff's letter or the Illinois assault weapon ban?
Well, we just tuned in about
I got you.
The school shooting and the guns and stuff. And we just got a call.
Oh, there you go. All
right,
well, thank you for the call, fellas.
Thanks anyways. It's like people get excited the first time they see you, and they're like, "Oh, let's fuck with them." Like, we're kind of in the middle of something here.
All right. Well, but yeah, so that's something to keep an eye on. We're gonna see, because I don't think that's just gonna go away. I don't think just because the sheriff says that they just get to do it. So we'll see if there's fallout. We'll see how that happens.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. Like I said, Civil War kind of vibes again for the first time in a few years.